Everybody ready? Morning, everybody. Welcome to the April 25th, 2023 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you are with us, and we will begin, as we always do, with an invocation. And Reverend Charles Johnson is with us, and I'll ask him to come up. Help lead us in prayer. Please stand.
Good morning. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, and we encourage and ask that you help us to be good stewards of our time and our resources and our effort. Continue to keep your loving arms around this nation, this community, this state, hurting families, and just bless and strengthen us throughout this day. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend. And I'll take this moment of privilege to thank the Reverend again for organizing what was a very nice peace vigil yesterday for Juliana Farmer and her family and friends and the victims of the shooting in Louisville. So thank you for doing that, Reverend. It was quite nice. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Magistrate Tompkins.
Here.
Magistrate Southern.
Here.
Magistrate Starks.
Here.
And Magistrate Berry.
Here.
Gentlemen, you have before you the minutes of the April 11, 2023 Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, clarifications, or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is Judges Scholar Day, and this is a special one for me. Ava Hurt is our Henderson County High School Judges Scholar, and I've known Ava all her life. And she is a relative of mine, and I didn't put two and two together coming in here today and saw her sitting there, and I'm so proud, not only for your accomplishment, but to have a family member getting this deal. So did the Blanfords and the extended family, all the Hurts proud. So Ava, I'll meet you right up here.
Whereas Ava Hurt has been chosen by Henderson County High School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award for exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities, and whereas Ava's hard work and dedication in making the most of educational experiences and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success, and whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement, and whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Ava's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these accomplishments as being significant because students, such as Ava Hurt, will be our future leaders. Now therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim today, April 25th, 2023, as Ava Hurt Day here in Henderson County.
Don't smile at me. Pictures on everybody who wants to come on up. It took a whole group to
The village.
I'm gonna let him get the famous picture.
We know the value add, and it's not the t-shirt and shorts. Taylor, is this yours? No, it's yours, sir.
Congratulations, Ava. Great job. Now you get to see the boring stuff happen, but you get a great view of the box seat here. Next, we have Melissa Hughes and Brittany Smith representing the Henderson Homeless Coalition. A little presentation for us. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Well, you know, I've known Ava, I think, her whole life, too. I feel like I have anyways. She's been part of our family, extended family, for many, many years. So I'm so excited for you, Ava. Yay! It makes me feel really old, but that's okay. Okay, so thank you so much for having us today. We really do appreciate this. And, you know, the opportunity to talk to you guys about what the Homeless Coalition is doing here in Henderson is important. We met with the city commissioners a few weeks ago. Same presentation you're getting today, they received as well. At the end of this, just to say it up front, our overall goal is to get a joint work session with the city commissioners and the magistrates, just to talk a little more in detail about the Homeless Coalition and the steps that we're taking to work on some of the issues that we're going to talk about today. So that's our overall goal in the end. If you have questions through this, please stop us. We're not going to read every single word. We are going to hit the highlights, but again, stop us if you have questions as we go through. This is our mission statement. The purpose and mission of the Henderson County Homeless Coalition is to collaborate in the advocacy and coordination of community-based strategies to prevent and end homelessness in our community. And a lot of the things through that mission that you just heard, a lot of organizations in this community have been part of in planning this and coordinating and working with our coalition. We have made some accomplishments over the last couple of years. COVID was hard, but we still were able to battle through it. You can see several of the accomplishments, but the biggest one we've had is we have achieved our 501c3 status. And that was a huge accomplishment for our coalition. The coalition has really been in existence for about 5 to 6 years. Dr. Pat Lake, I want to give him some recognition here. We would not be where we're at today without Dr. Lake and his leadership in leading the coalition. So we want to thank him for all that he has done for the coalition. So if you have any questions about the accomplishments, please ask.
And we do have a very close partnership with Harry, who runs St. Benedict's and the Daniel Patino shelter. And he's over in Owensboro. He's running both shelters at one time, so I'm not sure when he sleeps. But we went over and met with him. He also sends people for street outreach from those two shelters currently, because we don't have anyone over here who's doing any homeless counts at this time. So he sends a staff member over. One of his staff members asked, "Had I ever been to Robards?" He said. And I said, "I have." He said, "There's one road. There's one road through the whole town. Had I seen it?" I said, "I have been out there. I have seen it." And he'd been to Hebbardsville too.
And we got a general
So-
store now too, by the way.
We do. We do. You're right, Taylor.
He did stop by there for lunch. He said it was very good. But he's a big old burly guy, and I just thought it was so funny. He's telling me about all the country stores, and he'd been to Roberts and Hebbardsville and all that. But so we've met with them and kind of figured out what they're doing as well. To try not to reinvent the wheel, but maybe emulate some things that they're doing in Owensboro that are being done really well. But Another thing that we have taken on is what's called the K count. It's the homeless count. And the Homeless Coalition has taken over hosting that each year. For the last 4 years, we've done that. Now, the homeless count by HUD standards, federal guidelines, it has to be done in January. And it's usually the last week of January, which, as we all know, is beautiful and sunny in Henderson, Kentucky, right? So usually during the K count, our numbers are a little bit lower, but a tremendous amount of us in this room, thank you, went out for the K count this year. But we also started our own, what we call our summer count, which you'll see in a moment. The summer count, we use the same sheets as the winter count, so that the numbers are compared against the same metrics. Of course, in the summer we find far more, because in the winter, I think this time it was 10 below. So on the K count, in January of 2022, we found 31 sheltered and 2 unsheltered. During that time, there was an ICE issue, so I believe that's why we didn't find as many unsheltered then. In a moment, I'm going to have Ms. Casey Wolf come up to talk about the school systems numbers, because they use the McKinney-Vento system, and also so that she can kind of explain some numbers of the school system has been able to garner as well. In 2023, we found 37 sheltered, but we found 14 unsheltered. And we do want to say a huge thank you to some of our coalition members. They went and ate lunch at the Salvation Army so that we could make sure our number was really complete. We held a nonprofit fair so people could come in and ask us questions. Even if they weren't homeless, they could come. We don't want them teetering over into homelessness either. We want them to know every service that's available to them for, so they don't fall into housing insecurity. But the 14 unsheltered, we turned every rock over. If you know Kenny Garrett and the system that they used in some other areas after the tornado, we used the same system. We had someone in each car with a phone, so you can see an entire map of the entire county that we went to. I got to go with Ms. Sybil Keach out here, who is a lifelong Basket resident, and so I got to see Bill's. I'd never been to Bill's, and New Spotsville Bridge too. So, but we all broke up and went out and did that count as well, and then we had people that went out the next day. I do want to say the count, they give you 3 days to do it, but it all counts on the same day. So even if we went out on January 26th or 27th, we had to ask, where did you sleep on the 25th? I will tell you, we got 3 reports of people sleeping in the cemetery. So that was probably one of the more heartbreaking things that we found, was that, people are sleeping in our city and county cemeteries, in areas to stay out of the wind and stay warm.
Casey.
Casey, you want to go ahead and come?
Hi, my name's Casey Farmer Wolf. I am actually the Director of Pupil Personnel for Henderson County Schools, but I also am tasked with working with our home program. So, whereas these ladies use a different definition, they use the HUD definition for counting the number of homeless in our community. All school systems, public and private, in the United States, we use a different definition, and it is defined by federal law, which is the McKinney-Vento Act, and it defines homeless as any individual who lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. So, for example, any students that are living in hotels or motels, any students that are living permanently in campgrounds or campers, students that are living in a car, any kind of public space. Let's see. Also, it includes migratory children. So if a family is a migrant family, but they don't have adequate housing, they would also fall under this definition. Currently in Henderson County Schools, I have 94 students that are homeless. We have been up to 144 this year, but as of today, we're at 94. 57% of those students are aged 12 and younger. So think about that for a minute. 60% of those are doubled up. So most often in Henderson County, families that are homeless end up couch surfing. That's 60% of our families. So they may live with one family friend for a couple days and then move on to another family friend. Now, families in Henderson County that choose to live in doubled up situations, meaning that was a purposeful choice, obviously they're not in this count. But our students that are couch surfing and don't have a regular residence are. Also, in the federal law, it is required that we make sure that these students get to stay in their home of origin and that we, Henderson County Schools, provide transportation for them. That is what I spend a lot of my time doing for these families. So for example, if I am sleeping on a couch in Jefferson's district this week, but next week I have living with a different family member in South Heights district, then I work with these families and arrange transportation so that the child doesn't ever have to change schools. We want to keep that one stable thing in their life to be school. So regardless of where they are sleeping in the district, we will transport them to their school of origin.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you think that's the correct number, or how do you go about putting
no.
those numbers together? Because I'd say there's some children would be embarrassed by even bringing that subject
Yes.
up, so there's, you know what I mean, they're not
I
coming
would
forward.
say it probably isn't even half of the number of students in our district that are truly homeless. So me and then my predecessors, we have very good relationships with many of the motel managers and
Okay.
different things. Sometimes parents tell us, sometimes people call me, such as like the motel managers or hotel managers in town. Sometimes family calls me, but you are correct. I am dependent on someone communicating that to me. Sometimes we just identify, there are certain patterns that we identify with kids, and that kind of gives us an idea that they may be homeless. The school would contact me and I would go and try to sit down with the family and approach that delicately, so.
Yeah, because just, I would assume really by, I work with the Salvation Army, and we see some of those people. And,
Yes.
And you know what I mean? It's not that they
Yeah.
necessarily want to be there, but they just don't want to come forward and say, look.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. No, I would
Especially
say,
in a child situation or something.
I would say my number of, and 94 is only the students. Whereas they have adult and student, I can only count students.
Yep.
But I would say it's probably not accurate. I mean, I'd
Yeah,
double that.
I would think it'd be greater than that, really.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So as we told you, we did a summer count as well. In the summer count, we only went out 1.5 hours. We only went in the city limits. We did not go out to the county during the summer count, because it was the first time we had done one, so we wanted to kind of keep that a little bit smaller, just for capacity-wise, to make sure we did it the way that we wanted to, got our processes down. We found 8 unsheltered and 30 were sheltered at the Harbor House and the Father Bradley shelter at that time. So in 1.5 hours, just walking downtown, we only checked underneath the railroad bridge, Sunset Park, Hayes Boat Ramp. I have to tell you the partner that I went with to Hayes Boat Ramp. They were in all the trees at Hayes Boat Ramp. We walked all the way down the river walk. We alone, I believe, found 3, and then Atkinson Park. I do want to note, underneath the railroad bridge and the 2nd Street overpass, right by where Habitat is now, we do know that there was a guy staying there at Habitat. We would leave him out waters and things. He was not present during the count, but we had talked with him before. So we were not able to actually count him in this count. We only counted people that we were able to physically find or talk with at that time, but we at Habitat didn't know he was sleeping there. And I would like Melissa for one moment to talk about where she and her group went during the summer count, because they found a much more dire situation than me and my partner found.
We managed to be at the tennis courts and Sunset Park, and we went down onto the riverbank there by the train bridge and where Sunset Park is at, and what we found was evidence of children living down on the riverbank. And the evidence that we found was pictures, clothing, rocks that had been colored with crayons and markers that looked childlike. And the clothing that we found, children clothing. Now again, this was in August, hot. The containers from Casey's General Store, I can't even tell you how many containers we found. But what was even more alarming was the insulin, the empty insulin containers that we found. And when I say empty insulin containers, I mean more than one box. Now, we don't know if they were utilizing them or if they had been stealing them, but they were empty. There was nothing in the boxes. We did not find anybody down there, but we did find their belongings. So it was concerning to us that children living on the riverbank. Now, we don't know, if they were with adults or teenagers or what the circumstance might be. So that's where we've traveled, and we did speak to Michael. I don't know if you all have met Michael. He rides a bike here downtown quite often. He said in the last year he had spoken, I do think this is an exaggeration, to some degree, more than 800 homeless people had traveled through Henderson County, the city limits, within about a 12-month period. That does sound like a lot, but after some more research that we've done and some questions that we've had for Patino, now we're saying that number is getting closer to that 800 mark that he was talking about. That doesn't mean they're staying here, but they are traveling through and having conversation. Out of that 800, he said majority of them are mentally ill in very many facets. And many of them are armed and considered dangerous that are coming through. He had an entanglement behind the depot with a man with a knife. He was mentally ill, no medication, and he was very, very dangerous. So those are the things that we have encountered over the last year here in Henderson.
Melissa, can I hate to ask another question,
Sure.
but at the Harbor House, what's the length of stay that they can stay there? Is it 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
So the Harbor House is a setup situation, and I know that nobody from the Harbor House is here today.
She couldn't make it today.
It's 1 month. Now,
1 month.
with that 1 month, understand they're set up differently than the Father Bradley Women and Children's Shelter. Their program is different. They have to be sober. They have to attend church. Their responsibilities and duties that have to be applied and set forth each and every day. So that 1 month, they go through counseling. There's a program that they are following, but what they're finding, which right now I think they're at capacity along with the women's shelter, that men cannot handle the responsibility. So they're not able to keep them for that month to get them rehabilitated to some degree. Obviously, you're not going to get rehabilitated in 30 days, but to some degree to be able to go back out into society.
Yeah, so they would basically turn into homeless more than
Yes.
more than likely. All right, thank you.
And then we're going to talk about we're going to move through this a little faster. The HUD fair market rent, Brittany's going to go through it for you guys. This is just a comparison, so please understand that as you look at these numbers.
If you want to look in the packet that I gave you, there is a page number 3, slide 2 explanation. I do want to thank our Chief Operating Officer, Matt Reynolds. He is a much better number storyteller, as I call him, than I am. So this slide I'm kind of go through here instead of off of that slide. Same numbers, but according to 2022 HUD numbers, the fair market rent for 1 bedroom in Henderson, they'd like it to be around $670. However, based on data derived from the National League of Cities 2022 report that was titled State of Homelessness, if you rent a 1 bedroom in Henderson County, it's closer to $793 per month, the difference of $123, and that's a pretty average number that we found year over year. Based on data from the same report, the average renter in Henderson County is making $13.07 per hour. That is based on a 40-hour work week. Rarely are we finding that people are working a full 40-hour work week, or that they're being offered a full 40-hour work week. And I can say that from the 60 applications that I got for Habitat Housing, 20 of those being less than 24 hours. That computes out to an annual household income of $27,185.60. If you look at the bullet points above, that means the average renter in Henderson County is spending 35% of their gross monthly household income on housing costs. That's before utilities are factored in. Of course, that's a gross number. We know that I don't get to take home all that money. As many of you already know, the definition of affordable housing is a cost that's equal to or equal to or less than 30% of the gross monthly income. And then I'm going to have Melissa explain one more thing.
In 2020, Dr. Chad Phillips created a strategic plan for Habitat for Humanity that utilized federal housing data with specificity to promote favorable household income outcomes. This plan strongly supported that no more than 23% of the household's gross monthly income should go towards housing costs in order for households to better secure reliable transportation, medication, food, and other essential monthly needs. So I know, this slide, the commissioners had several comments. Do any of you have any comments on this or questions that are to this particular slide? Okay.
One thing that Melissa and I definitely want to do is thank the people that are part of our coalition. So if you're a coalition member and you're here with us today, if you will please stand up. These people help us do all this work. We have no paid staff. We all have our own jobs on top of everything that we're trying to do with the Homeless Coalition as well.
So like I said, the overall goal here today is to ask you all, as magistrates, to consider a joint work session with our city commissioners to look at what we can do as a community to move the needle forward in helping our Homeless Coalition set forth some obtainable goals for the future in helping this issue. I mean, we do have an issue, and a lot of people have asked us, are you sure there's an issue? United Way moved to 428 2nd Street, January the 16th. I had no idea, as the executive director, I'm going to be completely honest, the amount of homeless individuals walking down 2nd Street until I moved and my window faces 2nd Street. The amount of individuals that walk by on a daily basis outside of the Warm Center, girls, is massive. I've begun to count on a weekly basis how many individuals we are identifying that are considered homeless, transitioning out of whatever type of housing it could be, mentally ill, drug addictions. The number is growing by the month here in this community. So this is an issue that we want you all to consider having some conversation about.
And we do know that the county numbers will become higher as the weather gets better, more camping, more campers, more river camps that they believe are empty. Those type of things we know are more prevalent in the summer. And we hope during our summer count this year to be able to count those in. The next slide after this one just shows 3 people that were at the Salvation Army. One of the people on my staff feels very strongly about this committee. She actually asked those 2 people, what keeps you homeless? You can see the people with the white truck behind them. I actually did a 45-minute interview with him. He is counted in the K count. They sleep in that truck behind them every night. You see how tall he is? He actually is, in person, he's 6'3" or 6'4" at least. They ask for a thicker warm blanket, if possible, and 2 more pillows. That's all they ask us for that day. The second person, we told them they did not have to show their face. They didn't want to. The second person put addiction, and the third one is having a child with no paid maternity leave. We have heard that one, quite a bit as well. So Melissa will kind of run through a couple other slides, and we have one last person to speak as well.
We'll wrap our presentation up. Housing is not only the most humane solution, it is also the least costly option. And you guys can see here the pros and the cons. We have to come up with a solution as a community. The coalition can't do it by itself, so we need your help. We can reduce the correction costs, reduce the health care, mental health services, reduce rehab recovery services versus the repeat jail correction costs, continuous ER healthcare visits, the continuous mental health issues. This week, I was informed that a child that I had worked with since he was 6 years old shot and killed himself due to mental health. It's a terrible situation. I had been with him since he was 6 with the Boys and Girls Club in Owensboro. Great kid, had a terrible family life. He had overcome so many things, but mental health. He could not get the services he needed due to the lack of income and benefits that he had as a 21-year-old. He was 21 years old. So these are real things that are affecting us personally. And they're hitting closer to home each and every day. And I know that Kenny and Jill in the back have been with me. We've walked the riverfronts. We've helped people, and our EMA and our emergency service people are seeing things that no one should see. Gone into the cornfields. So the stability here is something we have to have some discussion. So if you have questions, I know we have some slides here at the end. You guys can look at the data. It's your own convenience. Whatever you want to take from that data, I encourage you to review it. Also, we have one person here today that has overcome homelessness in our community. I think she's a great advocate as we move forward, and we would like you to take the time. I know you're short on time. We don't want to take up your time here today, but I do think it would be important for you to hear her and decide for yourself where we need to go from here. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to be here today.
Hey, Brittany, or Melissa,
Mhm.
out of the people you talk to, do you feel that some of these people are employable, that are able to work, or do you
So on the K
advocate?
count- On the K count, that's a specific question we ask if they
Okay.
are employed. Some of them are employed. One man that we talked with, that Mary Dunham knows very, very well, he is employed. They live out of their van. He works at a plant in town, and he works 40 hours a week. So we're finding that, like a better term, the working poor, their housing instability is really
Just-
starting to tilt over.
Just can't get over the hump. Some people
Yeah.
have a hard time with that.
Yeah, and Chantel will speak a little bit more about that. Chantel is a lifelong Henderson resident, one of your constituents, and we asked her to come speak and kind of share her story, and she's been gracious enough to do that.
So thank you for having me here. Good morning.
Good
I am
morning.
Chantel LaPlante. If I take a moment, I am sorry. It is a very personal story for me, and it is kind of hard for me to share, but I want you to kind of be aware. That rhymed. Sorry. So I'm speaking today because obviously I have been homeless. I have actually been homeless since the moment I graduated in 2008 all the way up until November 2017. That was kind of an off and on situation, which I'll explain in a minute. I had a child in 2012, and that made things even more harder for me to keep in place. So I was born into poverty, and if you are aware about poverty, it is kind of a cycle. So it is something that I was not able to control. I didn't choose that. I was born into that. So it was a very traumatic situation that I was born in, so I did have mental health issues. I had, and still sometimes, I've had post-traumatic distress, or PTSD. So as soon as I graduated, I kind of became homeless. I hopped or couch surfed different friends' places. I had a job, and I actually had the same job for almost 10 years. So it's funny that you mentioned that. And I even worked additional seasonal jobs, like during Christmas. So sometimes I'd have more than one job. However, because of my lack of support, I had no credit, and I was working minimum wage. And back when I started working, minimum wage was actually $6.55 an hour. So finding suitable housing for me to rent was very difficult. I struggled with car insurance, making phone payments. Cost of food was more expensive, and it was hard because I always ate out. I was not able to buy groceries because I had no place to store that food. And if I need to slow down, just let me know. Okay. So I became pregnant in 2012. I managed to get an apartment and kind of keep that apartment for maybe a year, but that was hard. Because of what I was making, I had to pretty much decide what I would pay for. Would I pay for rent? Would I pay for my car? What bills am I willing to let go? And unfortunately, rent and car insurance would go. I could only work certain shifts. Henderson County does not have a second or third shift childcare. And if you work retail, sometimes you don't get to pick the shifts you work. You're told when you need to work. I'm not following my cards, so now I'm lost track, so I'm sorry, because I can talk a lot. So I used my car as a place to sleep in. I parked in public places such as parks. I would sleep in my car, and this is while I had my son with me. And he was preschool aged. So despite me trying to do my best for him, our basic physiological needs were not met. And this affected his behavior and his growth development. And I never spoke out because I was afraid of losing my son. I was afraid if I told someone, they would take him from me. And he was nonverbal, and at the time I did not realize he was also on the spectrum. So I felt like I had no one I could trust, and it wasn't until that I was introduced to actually Audubon Kids Zone in 2017 that I was given the tools and a support system to walk alongside me for me to improve my situation. I got a case manager, I got into therapy, I managed to get an apartment with Housing Authority, and I went back to college. And this was a process because now I have my bachelor's degree in elementary education. Thank you. And the point that I'm making with my story is that there is a homeless problem in Henderson. It may not look the way that you want it to look. I'm not dangerous. The most that I can do is when I'm angry is I'll cry. It wasn't about my work ethic. I worked. All throughout those years that I was homeless, I had a job, and I continue to work. And I did my best with the resources I had at the time. I had tried to use the shelter, but the times that I had went, they were at max capacity, so I could not go there. They could not take me in. Obviously, I have dreams and goals. I've reached most of them thanks to my education, but at that time, I didn't have the opportunities to reach them. There are people who are homeless that I know their situation is similar to mine. They have goals, they have opportunities that they want to be able to get to, but it's hard because of the resources. They have to make hard decisions just like I did. What bills will they pay with what money they have? Sometimes, unfortunately, living in your car or sleeping on the railroad track, that's the option that they have for them. And I think that was it. So thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Hey, real quick, Brittany and Melissa, respects to the educational process, I didn't see that in your slideshow, and my wife's a school teacher, as you know. Mm-hmm. Are we working on something to the guidance counselors or somebody where we can help these kids who are identified transition, because there are grants and there are things that can help them start that so they don't go down this rabbit hole? Are we working on anything like that? Or
Yeah, so right now, a conversation with Dr. Lawson needs to be had. Mm-hmm. I'll be completely honest. We need to see what types of steps they're taking. Mm-hmm. I know that they're doing a lot with little as well, like a lot of people are. Sure. So we want to bring them into our conversation as we begin to we sit down and identify some good, solid goals. Because this is the thing, that's why we want a work session. We don't want to start just throwing things at the wall to see what's going to stick. We want to know, what do we need to be doing, and set those objectives and expectations moving forward so we can achieve them. That's why I said in the beginning, it has to be obtainable. It can't be something that's loosely done. Mm-hmm. So I think that is definitely a focus area that we need to talk about is education. What are we doing from an education standpoint as we identify these families or children, like Casey said, that are homeless or couch hopping? How is the school system playing a part in that? And then I think Dr. Warren needs to be part of that conversation too from the community college, because there are work-ready grants that are available and financial assistance. And again, just like Chantel said, she didn't know that. She didn't have the support system then to lead her down those right paths.
Right, okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I have a ton of questions, but probably not for this
Right,
session.
I agree.
So I think it goes without saying, we'd probably be interested, absolutely be interested in some sort of
I'm
joint
in.
meeting.
Tell me again.
I'm in 100%.
I think, fair warning, I don't think you're going to get a lot of answers from this group of people. I mean, we're going to come to see how we can help, but if you're going to turn around and say, what should we do, you're going to get a lot of blank stares.
Right.
So, I mean, we're there to listen. I don't mean to be speaking for, I don't know of any homeless experts on this panel.
None.
I'm certainly not.
And we're not either.
Yeah.
When-
They're-
and
they're-
As Kurt and I spoke a little bit, there may be even some things that may not cost any funds either, that we just need help putting maybe a little infrastructure into place. We have, Kenny could probably take the entire time and tell you about warming and cooling shelters, which a lot of people are not familiar with in Henderson County. If we could help Kenny maybe get better infrastructure for those as well. Those are for people that are homeless and also people that don't have air in the summer, or don't have adequate heat in the winter. We could help get those up to a better capacity. That might even help with housing insecurities or, I hate to say this, but, heat-related deaths or strokes as well. So that's one place that, I stopped Kurt. He couldn't even shop in the RE-store because I stopped him for so long. So we would love to just sit down and speak with you guys.
And we're not going to be asking you guys, what should we do? Please don't take that away. We want this to be a team effort and get suggestions and have good, healthy conversation about where we're at as a community. And like I said, set those goals and objectives that are obtainable moving forward. And we're all on the same page.
Yep.
Because we're not homeless.
I'd say get a couple of
experts.
dates put together, and we're definitely eager to listen
Okay.
and see what we can do to help.
We'll work that out for you guys.
Yep.
We appreciate it again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Really appreciate all the hard work you were putting into
Yeah.
this. Thank you.
One thing I'll say is, and we can talk about this later, but the one thing that strikes me about Chantel's story was, there are so many social services in place, and I wonder, what the reasons are that Chantel couldn't take advantage of those at certain times. Was it lack of knowledge? Was it at points where she touched the healthcare system and perhaps other systems? Why wasn't she made aware that,
I can actually answer that question.
please come up. And I don't want to, I know that every person's story is different, so there's no general overarching solution for this, but I'm just wondering, when your child was young, there's WIC, Section 8, all those things designed to help a person in your situation, but do we not get the word out well enough?
Well, for me, again, because I mentioned I grew up in a very traumatic situation, so I was pretty much brainwashed I was told I wasn't good enough. So already into early adulthood, I had a lot of trauma that I had to work through. And actually, that's the same that I speak when it comes to kids' education. If a child has trauma, it's going to be harder for them to learn in the school system because they're coming back with their backpack full. And for them, they may not have the resources to leave it, kind of at home, because I know sometimes we go into your job and workplaces will say, you got to leave your backpack at home. Well, for me, because of all my trauma, I still had a child kind of like mindset because I had so much that I had to work through to get counseling. Because of my homelessness, I moved around so much. I did end up pregnant because, again, I was young and I didn't have somewhere to go, so I made risky decisions and moved in with other people. So I was able to I couldn't file for food stamps or medical because even though I worked, and I worked 2 jobs, there's this line, and I made just a little bit too much. So I made too much money, but I can't keep a roof over my head.
That's a major issue.
Yes, it is.
Dixon is working on that.
Yes.
The Cliff and United Way is advocating
That's a major
We
issue.
would like to also, when we do pick some dates, invite Representative Jonathan Dixon, along with the committee members, and definitely Chantel and Ms. Wolf as well. But Jonathan Dixon, or Representative Jonathan Dixon, is working on the CLIF benefits. Most people think if you lose, if Chantel made an extra $1, then she just loses $1 benefits. That's not how that works. And if benefits are lost, they don't just come back the next day.
Right.
And also a big thing is the ID law that was just passed by the state legislator. So if Chantel had not had a fixed address at certain points in time, she would not have been able to get a state-issued ID. You know what you have to bring in to get a state-issued ID. Many people could not do that. You could not until very recently use the shelter as your address or a rehab facility. So.
But you can now.
I believe so. I've got to read that over again because it was just voted in. I know my mom works at Kenergy and had someone call her that was being released from jail. They had found a place they needed to get utilities turned on. They couldn't because they'd come from rehab straight to jail. They had no fixed address. Can't use the jail as your address. They couldn't use the rehab facility as their address. Out at Kenergy, you have to have a fixed address for them to give you utilities. And I'm sorry, you have to have a state-issued ID to begin that process. So those are two things that we'll bring into the meeting. But I know Representative Dixon, we've talked with him considerably.
Lots of work to
He's
be
got some
done.
good ideas. So.
And I was able to use WIC, so that did help me out, mostly for his formula and stuff, and there were other resources that I have used. But it was still just moving around so much, and then you have to like report or go in and do different things. Things did look better for me, after I had that foundation at Audubon Kids Zone and got into stable housing at Housing Authority. I was able to utilize like food stamps and the KTAP program, and there was a lot of things that was able to help me get this far. But it was still just kind of being able to have that support system.
Scott, what got you into the Audubons?
So I was seeing a therapist. That therapist was leaving, and because I had a lot of trauma, there's only actually one licensed therapist in Kentucky that does that, and so I was able to get EMDR therapy, and she just happened to be the director of Audubon Kids Zone, and that offered a safe space for my son. He was able to eat and interact with other kids because it was during the summertime. So that's how I got started there. And then when I got into KTAP, I asked for that to be my placement because someone had the belief that I would do good in education or working with children, and I had that kind of before, but I didn't have that support. Kind of like, when you guys have, I think all of you have kids, so if your child's like, I want to be an astronaut or I love science, you want to kind of amp that up, right, and support that. I didn't have that until later on in my life. So I was able to utilize those programs and got into Henderson County Schools, did the Ready to Work program, graduated HCC, and went on to Murray State.
Good for you.
So,
Yes.
thank
So
you.
She's a homegrown girl.
Yes.
She's educated me. You're a good educator. I've been educated. Thank you so kindly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have a presentation from Missy Vanderpool about KPDI and how it's going to help Four Star Industrial Park. And turn it over to you, Missy.
Yeah, thanks guys for having me. So I gave out, everyone should have a slide. I don't have slides for you, but I just wanted you to have that for some follow-up information. I'll try to go through this pretty quick. Lots of acronyms in different language, so ask questions if you have any. Many of you may know back in 2019, we were able to receive a grant through PDI, Product Development, for the 425 bypass for a gas line. That was the first time for that program, and PDI is Product Development Initiative. And when we talk about product, we mean land. So getting good sites available for future development. And so we saw some results from that PDI that you all see every day if you drive down the 425 bypass. That, along with a lot of other infrastructure upgrades and things, we were able to have a site that was ready for Pratt paper to come in. And so other communities saw some results from that. And so last year, the legislative body recommended $100 million to be divvied out amongst the counties for product development. And that's what's referred to KPDI, Kentucky Product Development. We work with a site consultant group, Beth Land with SSG Site Consultant Group. They work with us to get an application to see if you have a site that could be developed a little bit more to be ready for industrial development. And so this first round, they divided it by counties and by population, and we had a little over $1 million that would be available to us. We have to have matching funds. Don't worry, I'm not asking for $1 million today. I know y'all are used to me asking for money. And we'll talk about round 2 later when I will ask for money, but this is round 1 of PDI. And so we filled out that application. We had a quick little visit and we talked to the judge and Butch yesterday in another meeting, and we actually made the site consultant cry in a good way. And we were approved, recommended for approval for the grant. The grant is for the Sandy Watkins site out in 4-Star Park. It's a little over 100 acres and it is rail served. It is already designated as site or shovel ready. And what we're proposing is to take it to build ready with an over 1 million square foot pad. And so we submitted that with the application. We got an estimate for the cost of that. It's a $1.4 million upgrade. We will have a shovel or a build-ready pad for over 1 million square feet. So $1.4 million, $700,000 will come from the PDI grant, and $700,000 will come from 4-Star Industrial Park, the West Kentucky Regional Industrial Development Authority. And just so you guys know, I don't want to bore you with all the details and the boring stuff, but when you go out there, if you go out to that site, it's a great site, but there is a pretty significant slope to that site. And so what this will do is grade that site, make it level. And while consultants and industry, when they come to visit, and we have a visit coming soon, they can see that could be fixed, but it's 6 months worth of dirt work. And $1.4 million. And so you're eliminated. Because right now everything's about speed to market. And I always tell everyone, and I'll say it 1,000 times, the site consultants and the industries are looking to eliminate you. They want to find the best site, and if you're a 6-month addition to their timeline, you're eliminated. If this site over here and this site over here are pretty equal, but you're going to take 6 months longer, you're eliminated. So we thought this was a good project. What I'm here to talk to you about today is next week we'll meet with the 4-Star Industrial Park. We have to fill out the application for KEDFA, which is the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Authority. They're the body that approves financial incentives and economic development projects. So when we do this application, 4-Star will be the beneficiary, but we have to have a county or a city be the fiscal agent, the grantee. And so we will, the 4-Star Board will request that Henderson County acts as the fiscal agent. And we'll come back with a letter to you guys. I think that meeting for this will be May 9th. The fiscal court meeting will come with a resolution asking that this body be the fiscal agent. The funds will come, 4-Star will spend the money, so we have to be reimbursed. We'll make requests on a monthly basis to be reimbursed up to the $700,000. That money will come to the county, and then the county will pay 4-Star back up to the $700,000 for their receipts. Any questions? I went through that really fast, so.
Well, so it's going to be passed through for us. And so May 9th, do you need a resolution from us before May 9th?
No, we've met with Steve Gold and 4-Star attorney Chris Hopgood. We'll send a request for that. We've sent some sample language from the state to Steve, and we'll have that resolution for the May 9th. And then we will make.
4-Star is going to pass a resolution requesting fiscal court to do it because of some of the outstanding issues with 4-Star. just in general with some of the other members of Four Star, we thought it was important to memorialize that the Four Star Board is requesting the Henderson Fiscal Court to do this.
Understood.
And we do have meetings scheduled with some of the other courts just to let them know that's what we're doing. Because as a reminder, that's made up of 4 counties. And so we'll be meeting with them just to explain what we're doing with the PDI.
It would be great to have, even if it's voice votes in their minutes, request from them requesting Henderson County to do this as well.
Yep.
So it's $1.4 million pad,
Yeah. Over 1 million square feet.
and we got a $700,000 grant.
Mm-hmm. Four Star Industrial Board
Or
is paying the
to-
additional
to the
funds.
match.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. No matching funds
So-
from the county.
It's a lot of concrete, I'm assuming.
No concrete. This is when we're talking about a build-ready pad, it's just
Dirt pads,
engineered
okay.
dirt pad.
So, okay, well then, that's even more driving into my question. What about how you gonna keep it maintained to where you don't lose all the ground you just made up?
So we already have a pad out there that's been there for over 10 years, I guess. But don't get scared of I think once this will be the largest pad in the state of Kentucky.
Well, that's the reason why I
So we maintain it with grass and, any upgrades that may be needed, we
just
monitor it, but it's not it won't be farmed, where some
I
of
was
the
just making
si-
sure we weren't gonna do something, to potentially contribute to erosion and lose what we got.
Yeah, no, and it'll be engineered and to last for, a 1.4 million square foot building to go on to.
Right.
So, very excited about that. And again, that doesn't limit us to only a facility that's 1 million square feet. It just gives that speed to market. If they've got a 500,000 square foot building, they're going to have a spot to choose from to build their
Right,
building. So,
Options are good.
yes. And we hear, one of the things we do after a site visit, I know y'all have had a full schedule, is we try to ask those questions, like what were some of the issues you saw with the site, or what could we have done better? And just that speed to market and having that site, having a grading, at minimum, a grading plan, which we have now, and then this is the next step.
Right.
Any other questions? While you're here, though, we also have another development I want to make sure you're aware of. We have 2 industrial development authorities in Henderson County. One is the one that oversees Four Star. The other is the Henderson Regional Industrial Development Authority. And Master Putman sits on that board along with Missy Vanderpool, Bill Latta, Steve Hutto, Matt Hunsaker. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out. And one of the benefits of having a active IDA like that is that a few years ago, the state legislature decided to take payment in lieu of tax payments that they were getting from the Tennessee Valley Authority, big utility, and turn those back over to the counties in which the TVA had facilities, and to use that money for economic development purposes. We happen to have TVA facilities running through our counties, so we were among the counties that were given that money or had it available to us. The IDA met yesterday to formalize and ask of us to approve having some IDA money help finish the road in the Pratt Industries project. We've given almost $1 million towards that part of the project. For various reasons, they need a little bit more, and we thought the TVA funds would be a great place instead of our general fund to go get that money. That's what it's there for. And IDA approved that as a good use for that money. It involves us because we have to approve their application. The money will go directly to the IDA, which will then send it to where it needs to go to pay off that part of the road project. So pretty soon, if not by the next meeting, we're going to get a little form where we bless that, and then we are basically out of that equation because the money doesn't pass through us. So I want to give everybody a heads up. Does anybody have any question about that? We've used that TVA money for various upgrades, including the 425 bypass site. That was
Yeah,
used
the
a couple
gas
times.
that I was talking about for that first PDI,
So it was-
that was used for,
Yeah, very effective use of that money, I'd say. And this is ongoing money. We get some every year. And right now, the total amount we have available to us in that account is about $250,000.
Yes, and then the next fiscal year, we will have another 130.
130.
Yeah.
What they're going to ask us is to approve an amount for that road up to $250,000. It probably won't be that expensive, but we just don't want to give them a certain
Come back for
amount
30,000 or.
and then nickel and dime it. Just let's figure out what it's going to cost, including any work orders, change orders, and get it done. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're waiting on the exact amount.
Yes, and the application for this fiscal year, deadline is Friday. So we are actually going to work on it. We've got a little bit of built-in time for, we'll do for the next fiscal year, but we'll come within the next 2 meetings.
Do you need anything from us today?
No.
Okay. Okay, so heads up on that. And that money's been used very well by our county since the time it was made available to us, and it's nice to have that little side pocket of cash to utilize.
And I will just take a moment of privilege. I will be back to talk about round 2 of PDI. And we're excited about the opportunities that will bring.
Just to stop from scaring you about that. Right now, it is very true in the state of Kentucky that the number of relatively large build-ready sites in this state is critically low. We've had a tremendous couple years of economic development in Kentucky. And many of the big projects that have come in are going to be served by Tier 1 and Tier 2 suppliers who also need land. And some of them might need a 1 million square foot build-ready site. And Kentucky is...
I've got tremendous faith in Misty and her team. We're very fortunate.
Yeah. So we aren't, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not just a wish, a nice thing to do for 4-Star. We are being asked in many corners to figure this out because the state is bringing in companies that need help. And if we don't have ready land and sites available, they'll go somewhere else.
Y'all be scared. I'm up here and I could talk economic development all day long, but the judge is absolutely right. We just came back from conference in the states begging for good sites. So the next round, the next round of PDI, we are approved. Henderson County is allotted up to $2 million. So we'll be hopefully be able to look to acquire some land, or at least an option on some land. And then you've got to do all the due diligence reports and all that good stuff.
This will be elsewhere, not at 4-Star.
Yeah,
just elsewhere.
elsewhere in Henderson County. So.
Well, I know in years past, we talked about actually not just having a build-ready site, but actually spec buildings or shells. But unfortunately, I think what we found, there's a lot of shell buildings still out there in certain places, never got filled.
To be honest, right now, there probably aren't any shell too many shell
really?
buildings. They're getting.
They finally filled.
Yeah, but I will say, there's a difference of opinion. If you speak to one site consultant, they'll give me a shell building, and another one will tell you not. Here's what I'm going to tell you: the Missy's non-expert, opinion is: don't do a shell building unless you want a distribution center. And nothing against a distribution center, but let's look at what jobs we can get that are going to bring really good wages in industry. So the build-ready pad is that it leaves a lot more ability for customization. And
Well, you just touched on the other thing I was going to mention is, we were just hearing about the homeless situation. We've got a way to address that is to do what we're trying to do here and what other courts have done is promote more economic development and get better jobs and better paying jobs, careers that actually can help people make a living that they can keep a roof over their heads.
Yeah, and we're sitting in a really good position. And again, I know your schedule is full, but we really are vetting these. When we get requests for information, we're really vetting those. And if they're not strong wages and a good fit for our community, and also we've got to talk about protecting our grid and our electric. There are communities in the state of Kentucky that cannot take another economic development project because they do not have the capacity to do that. So we have capacity, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing and it's the right employer for our community. And so.
One point about the shell building question is, for years, the 4-Star Board didn't have enough money to build one on its own. So the way you do that normally is you contract with a company that will build them. You provide them a discount like free land or something like that to make the project easier to sell. They build it, they sell the building, and they keep the profit. But many of those deals will include the idea that if you don't sell it in 3 years, then the host board, in this case Four Star, would help pay the interest payments on the loan the company took out to build that. That always scared off the Four Star board because they didn't have a lot of resources to do that.
We have a lot of bankers,
Which
which is good.
And we'd heard stories about some shell buildings staying empty
Yep.
for a long
Yes,
time.
and they did, yeah.
On the other hand, we had other people saying is if you build it, they will come, and it was hard to determine what was true. But the fact that Four Star didn't have a lot of money just hanging around anyway made that decision easy. However, now that they are going to get a fair amount of money from Unbridled Solar, which is building solar panels on a kind of a landlocked portion of the park, they will have more resources pretty soon. They already had $1 million option that was paid in, and they're going to use some of that money for this pad project. They might examine that prospect of building a shell building, but it's not a slam dunk all the time.
And I have one more thing. You may hear about a shell building, and you heard me mention the other pad site, and that may be the best fit for that site. There are several homes right across from that site, and many times, as I told you, we evaluate, have a afterwards, what did we do right, what did we do wrong, and many times when you're having industry come in, those houses kind of scare them off, because they want to be good neighbors, and they're 24/7 operation and lighting or noises. So distribution might be the best thing for that site. So,
not to get everybody confused, does everybody know what Missy's talking about? For those who might not, on Southern Starway, the southern entrance, we've had a smaller build-ready pad there, as she mentioned, for more than a decade. Right across the road from that site is a row of houses. I don't know why necessarily the powers that be back in the day thought it would be okay, but a couple prospects who've looked at that smaller build-ready site have expressed concern about being good neighbors and having those houses, and we don't know how many eliminated us because of that, but we've heard anecdotally that was true. So for that smaller pad, we need to have something a little less intrusive.
right.
And a shell building there which promotes something that's relatively low impact, like a distribution center, something quietish, and might be just right. So
Again, I could
We'll
talk
see.
economic development. Y'all want
Yeah.
5 hours or whatever, but.
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Real,
Thank you.
real quick, I just want to, just to mention, Bill Latta is now the chairman of our IDA. Missy stepped up and took the vice chair's position, and Matt and myself. We appreciate it, and she's very efficient. And we appreciate it.
Yeah, y'all know, some of you know I take charge sometimes, so
Yeah.
thanks for,
No.
Never noticed.
But thank you anyway.
thank you very much for that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, moving on here. You've got in your packet a list of surplus from the Henderson County Detention Center. I'm sorry? Yeah. And Colonel Hendricks, if you want to come up and contribute to the conversation at all, but hopefully you've looked through those. They involve some vehicles, some mowers, some copiers, various items that they'd like to put on the state auction website for surplus property. Anything you want to add to that, Colonel?
Only most of the items work. I mean, they are in working condition. We've upgraded equipment, excuse me, as far as the electronics are concerned. Again, that requires storage, and we just don't have storage to keep continuing to build. With the vehicles do all work. If there is an agency that may need them, have them contact us before we put them on auction. We could work transfer of county property if you like.
Other government agencies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Only bad thing about it is the truck doesn't keep the transmission cable's broke, doesn't keep mileage, okay? The Jeep plastic molding's pretty much wore out on it. It's gonna cost me more to fix it than what it's worth, so. The van's in good shape, so are the mowers. Okay?
So we're confident we can get a pretty good price.
I'm hoping I can get a pretty good return on this list, yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions about that? I think it's a testament to the work that jail does. The Grand Cherokee looks pretty darn good on that picture. I might put a bit in myself, but I understand it's you keep them clean.
It's clean, but it has its issues. It's just it's that point at age in its life, being an older model, that it's just more economical for us to
Better,
go away
better
with
to
it.
try to make a little money than let it rot.
Yeah, and the same thing with the van. We're switching out our fleet pretty much. We've still got 15-passenger vans available to us. At one time, we had pretty much an entire fleet of 15-passenger vans. Nowadays, we don't need the 15-passenger vans as far as traffic and transporting, so we've gone to the more economical Dodge Caravans. We do have 2 of the 15 passengers left, but this one's just setting out rotten, and it's ready to go, and I'm like, why are we holding on to it?
One question, Steve. If we declare these items surplus today, does that preclude the jail from then offering it to another government agency? Does it then have to go on the auction site?
Well, the resolution declares it surplus and says that it is to be, it is to be sold. However, if there is another agency interested, all that would need to happen is the fiscal court could rescind that at the next meeting just by voice vote.
Okay.
That would be in the minutes and be.
Okay. Well,
I had talked to the Parks Department about a van, but they weren't interested, sir.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and read the resolution and vote on it. If for some reason you do find a local government taker, you heard Mr. Gold say, just bring it back to us and we'll get that taken care of real quick.
Sure.
Any other questions? So we'll read the resolution. Thank you. Appreciate it.
A resolution declaring certain county property to be surplus and providing for the disposition thereof. Whereas the Henderson County Jailer is in possession of property that is no longer of use to the Henderson County Detention Center and by any other departments within Henderson County, whereas the fiscal court has reviewed the list of properties submitted by the jailer setting forth the item's description, original purpose, and reason for disposition, whereas pursuant to KRS 67.0802, the fiscal court finds it in the best interest of the county to deem the property as surplus and provide for the disposition thereof. As such, the Henderson Fiscal Court wishes to offer said personal property to be sold by public auction or by selling for scrap and disposing of as garbage. And now therefore be it resolved by the Fiscal Court, County of Henderson, Kentucky, as follows. Pursuant to KRS 67.0802, the personal property of the Henderson County Detention Center listed on Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, is hereby declared to be surplus. If Exhibit A designates personal property to be offered for sale at an online auction, it will be sold using a duly advertised online auction pursuant to all applicable laws at such time and in such manner as arranged by the county judge executive. If Exhibit A designates the personal property to be sold for scrap or disposed of as garbage, the Henderson County Jailer shall make suitable arrangements for the disposition thereof, and shall forward the proceeds, if any, to the Henderson County Treasurer to be transferred to the general fund pursuant to KRS 67.0802-6.
Need a motion to approve
So
that?
move.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Good luck. Next, I'll have Nick Stallings come up, a couple bits of business. Going to make a bid recommendation to us on the Hatchet Mill Bridge structure.
All right, last court, I opened up, we had 4 bids for the bridge out on Hatchet Mill. The 2 top candidates was E&H Bridge with the steel. They had a steel structure, and then Scott Murphy had a concrete structure. Scott Murphy was about $4,000 cheaper, and their box beams is a complete pour box beam, so it's no hollow core. That's the option that I think we ought to go. There's no indication that a concrete steel bridge is superior to one another, especially with the box beam being a continuous pour. So that's my recommendation.
Get a motion to.
So moved.
Second. Motion and a second. Any other questions about this, Nick? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That was a very unenthusiastic aye.
Yeah. I will, so with this now, I've got the plans that accompany this bridge. I will put out a bid letting, bid request for the construction of the bridge, hoping to open it next court, which will be May 9th, and then, we're trying to get this thing done in the first part of June. So.
Now we have bid opening on accessories for your new F-550. If you remind the court a little bit about what this entails.
Okay, the F-550 is our truck that we use for our subdivisions for snow routes. It's a smaller vehicle, so we can get through some of the subdivision streets and some of the scary ones that they don't want to go around in a big truck. Also, but its main day-to-day function will be run the total patcher, which that's our pothole patching machine we use. It carries a little over a ton and a half of material, pulls that machine along. So with this, when we order a 550 from Ford off a state contract, it's a plain chassis. Then we have to outfit it with the dump bed, hydraulics to work the dump bed, and snow plow and sand salter. So this is what I did. I'd made a couple executive decisions that it's going to be more likely over $30,000. So I just went ahead and had everybody do a bid for that way. If it is over 30, we don't have to wait 2 more weeks. First bid price is from Edinger & Son. They came in with a 8.5-foot plow Boss blade. That's a brand Boss. DeWeese Central Hydraulic System, a 9.5-foot Gallon dump bed, a 304 stainless undergate tail sprayer, and then with this, it's a longer wheelbase, so we got like a 2-foot section we need to make up with the truck box. So with that is we're going to use a Windsor aluminum, and they bid a Windsor aluminum tread box. Their total price is $40,831, and that's Edinger & Son out of Louisville. All right, next bid we get is Meyer Truck Equipment. They're out of Evansville. They bid, let me get to they bid a cross-steel 9-foot dump bed. They had a aluminum tread box, the hydraulic system, the 8.5-foot Snow Dog EX90 snow blade, and a Salt Dog stainless steel under tailgate spreader with hydraulic 6-inch auger. Their total price is $48,018. All right, that's Meyer. Okay, now we got MCO. They're out of Madisonville. They were doing a Snow Dog 8.5-foot stainless steel snow blade. They have Force America all electric controls, hot shift PTO, hydraulic system. They're using a 9-foot Redding as their brand for dump body. They're using a diamond tread truck plate like all the rest of them were doing. A Salt Dog stainless steel spreader. So they're mimicking most of what Meyer bidded on. And then a receiver plate. Their total price was $41,792.74. So they're within, under 1,000 from Ettinger. So what I'm hoping to do, if you all give me the okay, is I was going to take this back, review it, and then go ahead and call the winning bid, or do I need to come back to you all next court? I'm just trying to keep our 550 from sitting another 2 weeks, unutilized. Is this something I can sit back for the rest of the court, figure out, come back to you all during Good County?
Well, we've got time. If you want to take those aside,
Got it.
you can come back this meeting.
All right.
We'll get a resolution. Animal control reports, Ms. Fambro.
Good morning.
Ava, congratulations. It's nice to see young people so successful. For this month already, we've had 123 animal control calls. We've taken in 23 dogs that were stray, and we had 10 dogs that were returned to their owners. So just a real short report this month. We had some county help to clean up still cleaning up after the storm back in March. They were out again this past week, and we're trying to get that straightened up. There's a lot of washout behind the facility, behind the fencing. We do have some bids on to put the fencing back up, but we got to fix the land before we can put a fence up. So that's kind of on the works to get that done. So that's all I have for today.
Just wanted to follow up on the question about these pit bulls in the East End that was broached in the joint meeting we had. Any news on that?
I believe there is a summons. I know they asked for a warrant to have the one person brought in. I've asked the ACOs to increase their presence in that area, also in the East End. So while they're out or returning back empty, to the shelter, I've asked them to cruise, the East End and look for dogs, and then back in Braxton Park as well.
Good.
So we, trying to make our presence known, and have one ACO that's really good about stopping and talking with folks, and he likes to help and he likes to educate. So we're spending a lot more time talking with people and educating our public that we can't have animals running loose, even in the city or the county.
Good, excellent. Sounds good.
What is your current staffing level with animal control officers?
We have 3 animal control officers, 2 trucks. So that's where we're at. And then our animal control officers, they not only patrol the city and the county, they also clean the facility. So they come in early, they start cleaning the shelter, and right now we have over 80 dogs there. It's an all-day job. Somebody is cleaning something all day long. So there are a lot, so I would say.
Of those 80 dogs, how many are there for their short stay animal control days?
Let's say probably half of them.
Half of them are within 10 days of
Right.
intake? Okay.
Quick question, though. Should animal control officers be cleaning?
Well, since I've started there, that's been the norm. They, and they work with the animals, they learn the animals, and then they, they're also there to help educate whoever might be potential adopters, or work with the people that come to pick up if they're the owners. So.
Should they be doing that? I'm curious because
I can ask. I don't know. That's just.
they have a pretty specific task,
Mhm.
right? Animal control. Wondering about that.
Okay.
Because as you say, it takes all day. Is that
We have one full-time kennel technician, and by he's the one that's cleaning most of the day. So I guess I should have finished that comment by saying the animal control comes in and gets started. But if they get a call or if we have an issue come up, then they leave the facility.
Yeah, that's their priority.
That's their priority.
Yeah.
Serving the public is the priority.
Yeah.
They come in the morning to get started and help, and then once they leave, then our full-time kennel technician, takes over and finishes the facility.
Yeah, I just want to, I wanted to hear clarification that
Yeah, I'm sorry.
their primary job is animal control.
Getting lost animals
Yeah.
and patrolling.
Right. If they have downtime, it's good to know they're
Yes,
they're
they,
helping.
they don't do us any good if they're sitting in the office. So they need to be out in the truck.
Understood. Yeah, that's right.
So.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We have a detention center, the quarterly report. Would anybody like to add anything to the report? Morning. Anybody have any questions? I know staffing's always a challenge, doing all the best you can on that. Any other thing to add?
No, sir.
Had a brief discussion about the scanners, body scanners, and
Just a little update on scanners. I'm working with Brad. We've actually located a, you got me off, caught me off guard. I lost my track of thought.
is it a grant opportunity?
Yeah. A grant provider through the USDA. It kind of postpones the deadline that I had set for myself to do that. They won't be eligible until about midsummer, around June, July time frame. So we're going to be putting out a grant proposal to the USDA to help us pay for those. And we can also, we've already been with the vendors and talked to several of them, and we can actually do it without any renovation to the jail, which is going to save some more money. But the game plan is still the same as soon as I can acquire solid funding. But I want to try the grant process first, sir. Okay?
Body scanners will really help the jail.
It's the main goal right now.
Contraband's still quite an issue, and with
Well,
fentanyl.
especially with the unknown, sir.
Yeah. Fentanyl being the primary unknown.
That and the latest drug they got, I think the horse tranquilizer is retinol, something like that.
Yeah. So body scanners can really help in that regard. So stay tuned. We'll hear. Yeah.
Sure.
Any other questions about the quarterly report? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. We need a motion to accept the quarterly report.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have the Sheriff's monthly reports in your packet. This is the rote normal report. I assume, Chip, anything you want to add?
The only thing I was going to add is just to let everybody know we transferred about $508,000 to the clerk's office for delinquent taxes.
Awesome.
And the standard taxes, and for the tangible $32,000. And just to let you know, my rough math, and I'm not going to be a math person, is that we collected a little over 98% of what we were expected to. So
And say that again about delinquent taxes.
$508,000 that we transferred out of roughly 32.9 million.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Finance Committee met yesterday, and we're talking about the success we're having in collecting delinquent taxes. It's still a question with a couple months to go whether we'll hit our budgeted revenue number for normal property taxes. But even if we don't, the fact that we came up short usually indicates there are going to be a lot of delinquencies, and we're doing such a good job of, apparently a good job of collecting those, that we'll still get that money, if not this year, then next.
And we had several that came in, the day after saying, with some sort of explanation as to why they had missed the last 6 months of their life to pay their taxes. And we said, we don't turn them over we didn't turn them over until last Friday because we want to make sure that we have all the mail-ins in the office because they said, and again, this is new to me, but they said that because of the tax software that we use, if we do anything after the date, that it shuts the whole system down. So we hold on to collecting them for about 3 days after to make sure we have all the mail in so they don't fall into the delinquent category.
Right. Well, it's good to hear we're enforcing the law. So, any other questions?
No, just a great job.
Absolutely.
And Renisa, just
Yeah.
collecting those delinquent taxes, it's a pretty nice number. So.
Yes, it is.
I was just going to ask real quick, it seemed like our tangibles were way up for some reason. Was there any thought behind that, or?
Maybe new business?
I was hoping that was.
I can't say for sure, but I would say that was probably.
It was pretty significant, it
Yeah.
looked like, so. But I know the other taxing districts as well appreciate it, but I think we're in a very envious position to have that kind of a collection rate. So, appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you. Entertain a motion to accept the sheriff's report.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions?
Thank you, Sheriff.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Renisa, County Clerk's report, please. I like the way you're hanging in here, Ava. This is a longer one.
Congratulations, Ava, on your accomplishments. Well done. Well done. Today I have the monthly report. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry. I have the monthly report for March 2023, which is $144,038.16 in excess fees and $218,328.02 for the total submitted to the county. I also have the quarterly report, which is $344,128.85 in excess fees and $498,880.80 for the total submitted to the county.
Good job.
Does anyone have any
questions?
questions?
I move to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other news?
Yes, we will be inspecting our voting machines. That's going to happen on Thursday, so if anybody wants to come, you are more than welcome, as is the public. They are welcome to come as well. So we're moving full speed ahead. We have all of our poll pads in. Those are programmed now and ready for use. We're training. Thanks, Steve, for coming to our first training and stepping in for me, swearing in all the election workers. So that was awesome. Appreciate that. I was out of town. So we are moving full speed ahead. I also have some posters downstairs if anybody would want some to hang in your businesses or where you frequent. We've passed those around. We've done some Facebook ads, and I'm going to be on Speak Up on May the 5th to promote the election. So any way you can help out would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, what time on Thursday for that inspection?
Oh, let me see. I believe it's 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
And that'll be here?
It's on the first floor. You know where we store them?
Yeah.
That's where it's at, in that hallway.
Right across from the PVA office?
Yes.
Yeah. And then just to put in a plug for those that may be watching, where do we stand right now? Is it absentee balloting starting soon?
Yeah, the portal is open now for any mail requests. I believe we've mailed out, as of yesterday afternoon, about 50 ballots. So, yeah, we could do more promoting on that. I believe people need to know their options. And we have early voting. We have we have the absentee in-house voting happening as well. And right now it happens to be the mail portal where it's available and people can request it through the mail. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got 7 checks. First is jail fees collected in the amount of $213.75. Reimbursement for health insurance, $8,077 and $649. And dental and life, $508.21 and $13.89. Aflac reimbursement, $203.66, and interest in the amount of $3.76. Total today is $9,669.27, bringing the total for the fiscal year to $186,686.10. And Ava is going to take care of this for me and hand it to the judge. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim, the joke we always make is that Ava's probably never held $9,000 in her hand at one time, probably. And as Steve always says, it's a good lesson because just as that money came to her and then passed right to government, that's going to happen to her the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gold. Thank you, Ava.
Do we need a vote on that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting that money, say aye.
Aye.
Didn't think there'd be too much discussion about that. Next, Treasurer Brenda Ryder.
You've received the transfers, and they are as presented, and this is redistributing appropriations within the existing budget. You will see down towards the bottom of the list transferring of the $62,210, which is for the distribution for the first payment of the sheriff's body cameras, which was approved at the February 14, 2023 meeting. And then you will also see cash transfers from the grants fund to the road fund, $150,000. This represents the Cairo Lyles Bridge reimbursement. It was done through budget amendment number 6. This is actually moving the cash from the grants fund to the road fund because it was deposited EFT in error to the wrong fund. The second cash transfer is from the general fund to the road fund in the amount of $600,000, and this is a budgeted transfer.
A couple notes about the transfers. We are getting into the time of the year where we're seeing how, the expenses are lining out with, just a couple months left, and it's not unusual to have to tweak money around to make sure we're covering things that ended up being a little bit more expensive than we thought. If you ever have a question about any of these transfers, you can ask it now, or you can go ask Treasurer Ryder anytime. Most of these are little things, just moving money around to make sure we have enough to get through the end of the year. And most of them, 90% of them, are moving money within the department's budget, not reaching for contingency too much. So this is not unusual. I think the members of the Finance Committee understand this. This happens this time of year. And again, we're not exceeding overall budgets with this. In fact, the Finance Committee meeting yesterday, we reviewed the budget until now, and if you've noticed, we're at 71% of general fund expenses. What is the percentage we should be at right now?
Approximately 83%.
83%, so we're doing well there. We have exceeded our budgeted revenue goal, and with 2 months more to go. So that's all good. So budget's in good shape. Jail is having a struggle this year. We're going to be talking more about that at budget time, but the rest of the funds are in good shape. So anything to add to that? We accept transfers. So we get without any further questions, unless you have some on the transfers.
Are you done, Brenda, with them? Is that all of them?
That's all the transfers.
I move to approve.
Okay. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
You have received your bank balances after paying claims today, and as the judge just mentioned, your day-to-day appropriation line should be at approximately 83%. I do have additional claims from the general fund to Magistrate Starks. $1,245.81. This is for the 2023 training incentive and is to come from the Magistrates Training Incentive Appropriation line and is to be paid with the April 27, 2023 payroll. To No Inc., the amount of $104,950. This is for the 60 EPO books for the clerk's office for elections, and this was actually paid for by a grant reimbursement through the Department of Local Government and is to come from the voting machines appropriation lines. To Staples in the amount of $630.78. This is for clerk office supplies and is to come from that appropriation line. To Webster County Fiscal Court in the amount of $7,120.26. To Union County Fiscal Court, $4,746.83. To McLean County Fiscal Court, $4,446.83. These are for the March distribution of the Columbia Sportswear occupational tax and is to come from the refunds appropriation lines. These are monthly, and you usually see them in your regular claims packet, but the funds were received later this month. From the road fund to Boyd Company, $23,634.86. This is for parts and labor for a rebuilt transmission and is to come from maintenance and repairs equipment appropriation line. From the jail fund to Republic Services for service, $612.60 and is to come from the contracted services appropriation lines. That's all.
Make a motion to pay the claims.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
I don't have any old business other than to say, Nick, do you have a recommendation? It's old by about 15 minutes, so that counts.
Well, it's like showing up to the candy store and it's closed. I went through all the bids. The two apparent winners are IMCO and Ettinger. They're only within $400 or $500 of each. The only problem is right now IMCO stands at 10 to 12 week hold off time to get the body and the hydraulic system. Ettinger does not know at this point in time what the holdback is. So they said they'll get back with me later today to find out what their lead time is on the equipment. So let's just hold off and do it next court. I don't want to approve one over the other when one of them get in quicker than the other can, and that deal. So
there's another concern here is that can it get done this fiscal year, in the next 2 months? If it cannot.
Yes, the wait when they were talked to them about it, it wasn't the deal about getting it put together. It wasn't going to be much time there. It's just on how our layback time is. So right now, IMCO is projecting end of June, 1st of July to have the parts in, which will be next fiscal year.
Yeah.
And Ettinger is still in the question mark. They're trying to figure it out right now, and they'll get back with me later today. So we'll just hold up to May 9th and do the recommendation then. So
I was talking to Keith Berry. I just took my mower in for service and needed a new gas cap, and this was 3 weeks ago, and they can't even get a gas cap in for a lawnmower. So I would almost count on this leaking into the next fiscal year.
I know that puts me, or that we will more likely be. If they have any kind of hold up 2-4 weeks, it'll be next fiscal year. So.
Now we might work with Brenda to see if we can encumber this on this fiscal year. So if we encumber it properly, we can still pay it next year, and it counts against this fiscal year's budget.
Yeah.
Maybe work with Brenda on figuring that out. If we do get a final number that's solid, perhaps we can do that. That'll
Yes.
help with budgeting a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Nick,
Any other?
you can go ahead, but we were talking about, and the light at the boat ramp in Geneva.
Yeah.
Yes. And I contacted our field engineer with Kenergy. He is going to meet one of my guys out there this afternoon or tomorrow.
Good.
And all they've got to do is okay that they can pull the line from that pole, and then we'll just have a metered light. Kenergy's Kenergy's bill. We'll just have a meter light out there. That way, it'll be maintained and controlled by Kenergy, but it'll be a dusk to dawn light. And then we would have just a monthly charge that most people have for their security lights.
This is a Diamond Island boat ramp.
Yes, sir.
And they have had problem keeping a light intact out there for people when it's early morning or late in the afternoon. So, thank you. Oh, one more. The Cole Hall Road intersection is where we were hoping to get asphalt put down. Any progress on that?
Yes, now the asphalt companies are open. The Jaeger quote never came through. He said he was having too much trouble trying to get things worked around during the closure. But now we have two companies looking at it, one out of Madisonville and then one out of Evansville, to try to get us to go ahead and give me the numbers so I can get it back with the bond holding company to get these fixed.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Any other old business? I will say with Nick here that we are going to start up again the road committee meetings. They'll be the first, before the first meeting of the month. And that is for, the members of the committee are the rural magistrates, the 3 rural magistrates. And at 8:30, before the first meeting of every month, we'll meet, and Nick will be giving us progress reports, upcoming work. We got away from those during COVID, and thanks to Tim Southard for poking us to get back in that habit, and it is good communication. It's an open meeting, so I guess the other magistrates welcome to sit in, but usually, as Charlie McCullum always used to joke, your roads are taken care of pretty good in the city, and but feel free. So mark it down. First, 8:30 before the first meeting of every month, road committee meets, and we'll be meeting back in our conference room. Okay, anybody else from the audience like to offer anything for good of the county? We started out with quite a crowd, and now it's dwindled down. Hearing none, I'll go around the horn. We'll start with Magistrate Starks.
Thank you, Judge, and good morning, everybody. It was great to see a nice turnout for our court meeting, and I've noticed our numbers on the live feed seem to be going up too. So welcome to all you folks watching, and just want to say congratulations to Miss Ava Hunt, and we're very proud of you, and certainly an inspiration, I think, to a lot of us. So keep up the great work, and look forward to great things in the future. And I noticed we do have a person who's sign language signing today for us. That may be something we might consider in the future for people that have, hearing impairments.
Interesting. I have been glancing over every once in a while to see if I could discern which signs were being given for which sentences had just been spoken. I'm not sure I caught any of that. Thank
I
you
appreciate
for
you,
being here.
exactly, for being here this morning, and everything is good. I'd like to see a little bit more warm weather, and be careful on the roads. Our farmers are out there, as we all know.
Yes, sir.
And then we've got a lot of road construction going on right now in all kinds parts of the city and the county. So, and as we go forward, Nick and his crews will be out, just like you said, taking care of our roads. So please, give those guys and gals a break. I think we had worker safety observance last week, but that's every week. And please put the phones down. I was behind somebody yesterday. They had no clue where they were, what they were doing, except talking on their phone. And it was a very busy intersection. It's lucky they didn't have a wreck. So let's be safe out there. Everybody be conscientious for the safety of others as well. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Master Barry.
Thank you, Judge. I don't have a lot. Thank you, Nick, for the road crossings out there that the judge just mentioned. I had a call yesterday about those, so let's get those done. That'd be great. Congratulations to Ava. I've known your mom for many, many years, and I know she's proud of you. So are we. I think the judge is taking you to lunch. Is that correct?
Hopefully.
And yeah, you go somewhere good and make him pay. He pays well, so you eat plenty and enjoy it. So thank you for being here. We're glad to have you. All right, and that, Judge, that's about all I have. Everything's good in District 1, and your roads are good, I know, Bill, so we'll work on them. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Golden?
Well, again, congratulations, Ava. We actually had a pretty more in-depth meeting than normal today. We had a lot of important, normally I say boring but important. We had some interesting but important things today. The homelessness issue, industrial development, even animal control, a lot of interesting things going on. There's a lot of important things going on in our county. The county attorney's office, we're very busy. We have all those jail bids that just got put out not too long ago. We've got all the contracts coming in on those, and you'll be seeing those hopefully soon to approve and get in place prior to the expiration of all those contracts. Ms. Renisa and my office will be working a lot on reapportionment coming up soon once she gets election stuff handled. It's kind of weird that they're both supposed to be happening at about the same time, but a lot of busy things going on. We're happy to serve the fiscal court, and anything we can do, just let us know.
Thank you. Master Putman?
Thank you, Judge. Ava, congratulations. We spoke before court started, and she's an amazing young lady without a doubt. And to bestow this honor of a judge's scholar, it's a pretty big deal. Like I told you, it's cherish the moment. I mean, you're probably one of what I think by this time we started it back almost 11 years ago. There's probably maybe 132, 135 that's been acknowledged by the court. So we're proud of you. You had a great family support unit here, and so I know they're all proud of you too. And again, congratulations, Judge, and everything is good in the fourth.
Thank you. Master Tompkins?
Congratulations, young lady. I know you don't remember me, but Miss Tompkins was your librarian, and she said she's super proud of you. Excuse me. She's not surprised at all. She knows how hard you work, so she wanted me to tell you congratulations. And I just remember you always smiling and being such a friendly and hardworking person. So you keep that up. We're super proud of you. Hope you have a great day. All's well. Second.
And Master Southern?
Congratulations. It's a big deal to get chose. You got chose from the whole high school. That's a lot of kids, so young adults. So congratulations. Know your mom and your whole family. I grew up with them, so congratulations. It says a lot. Everybody needs to remember, because I haven't, the last 2 times I've come through town, South Green Street is closed. And you can't get through. That's the only thing going on bad in my district. I think that's good. So, all's good in District 3?
I believe that's due to CSX rail work.
Yes.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be done soon.
2 more days, I think.
So obviously proud of Ava, and growing up, and even today, Ava was always very quiet, soft-spoken. I don't know if that was the way she really was at home, but around that big family group, always kind of soft, but very, got a good sense of humor, and also very, very smart. Mm-hmm. And you put up with a lot of crazy uncles and crazy cousins, I know. I mean, I can't defend the Blandford clan much. I mean, it is the way it is, but I think they all are going to catch wind of this if they haven't already, and there, I don't know, thousands of them at this point. I mean, you know, so the fact that it's Ava Hurt Day today is going to spread far and wide, and I don't think the celebration will stop here at this meeting. So get ready, and congratulations to all of you. I know you're proud, and great things ahead for you. Awesome. We are going to have the budget workshop on May 1st, and we're working diligently to prepare a budget to present to you, but I want to reiterate that that is a first step. My goal after this first workshop is to maybe reach some sort of agreement about things we haven't agreed upon yet, because there will be things in the budget that will, I'm sure, raise questions that will require some extra work to bring back answers. But my ultimate goal is to be able to vote, have a first reading and vote for the second meeting in May. So that will provide us plenty of time in June for DLG to check our work and get back to us so that we can vote on it during a regular meeting in June and not have to call a special called meeting. We will if we have to. But hopefully I'll be able to walk you through the proposed budget on May 1, have everybody understand where we're overthinking. And if there are sticking points in my own mind, I will tell you at that meeting. I will say that I want you to think about this and this because they're concerns. So again, what I present on May 1 is not meant to be the final product. It's only meant to start the discussion. And hopefully we'll get close enough after I work with the department heads this week to make sure they're not asking us anything outlandish, that we'll be close enough that if we do have questions, they will be relatively simple. But you never know. Still waiting on the reports from Sheriff's Office and Road Department. Those are two of the bigger ticket items, so those will always kind of drive part of the discussion. Chip, I'm just warning you, as this is your first rodeo, just wear. Yeah, well, just make sure to wear the Kevlar to this meeting is all I'm saying. I'm looking forward to May 1. I think it'll be very interesting for you new magistrates. Bill has kind of observed this from the side, but now you're going to be in the middle of it. Get ready. And Taylor, I think you'll find it very interesting. I often joke with the Finance Committee after meeting yesterday, it's just kind of like a huge game of Tetris, just trying to figure out where things can fit and what we can expect and make it all look cohesive in the end.
Yep.
So,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Just so you know, we are getting to the end of our deal making with Penn, Virginia, as far as it concerns Sandy Lee Watkins Park. I think it will be an acceptable resolution in the end, and you'll hear more about that. But working with Nick and Steve and the Penn, Virginia team, I think we've reached an equitable arrangement that will make us all happy in the end. So, with that, I need to hit the road, perhaps with Ava, or I might have a better offer for you. We'll talk about that in a second. But I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.